Hey folks, and welcome back. Today, we're going to jump right in with something cheap, simple, easy, and fun. Some of my favorite things. Don't care for what that says about me. I found this bag full of dragons at a local second-hand shop. Now, yes, they're toys, but the details on them are well sculpted enough that I think I'm going to be able to turn them into something cool for the tabletop to help flesh out the number and types of dragons that I have available to me in my collection. On top of that, they cost an incredible 50 cents for 3 of them. And sure, it looks like someone has already taken a paintbrush to them. Maybe someone around 5 or 6 years old with some thick craft paint. But I'm going to get them cleaned up, give them a bath, a scrub, and get them primed. And then we'll jump right in. This first dragon is the coolest of the bunch, I think. He's the largest, and he has the most dynamic pose. I decided I would try to turn him into a bronze dragon. Painting metallic dragons is always a lot of fun, and I don't have one of those in my collection. The second dragon is a little more static and less interesting, so I think I'm going to make him into a piece of terrain. I can always use more scatter. And the third one is super strange, with a short muzzle, a bone club tail, and lidless eyes. I'm not going to worry about him today since I'm just not getting any inspiration for that one. To start my bronze dragon, I did a zenithal with a white and an orange brown. Since I'm going to use a speed paint as the base, that will help give me warm, interesting shadows. Now if you've seen my review of metallic speed paints, then you know I was a fan of the Talos bronze color that came with those, and that's what I bust out here. Now, this is going to get a lot of other layers of paint to give it interest and make it more lifelike, but an all-over coat of Talos bronze is a great place to start. It not only covers with a single coat, but it's incredibly easy to work with, and it's going to help define the shapes and the sculpt so I can see what I'm doing while I paint. While I don't feel beholden to it, if you look at the official art from Wizards of the Coast, you'll notice that there are a lot of other colors in a bronze dragon. Specifically, there are a lot of verdigris colors, greens in the wings and shadows, and then brown in the very deepest shadows. So I start to dry brush green shades into the skin of the wings. I start with a pale gray green that takes up almost the whole wing, and then closer to the tips of the wings it gets darker and more vibrant. I happen to also have a metallic green paint in my collection, so I dry brush that along the fins on his back and also the lower halves of his limbs, letting it get more prominent towards the claws. This is honestly just because I thought it would look cool. And what's the point in painting a dragon if not to make it look cool? With that done, it's time for a wash to help bring out the texture on the sculpt. I settled on a green oil wash for this model. Oil washes just look better over metallics than acrylics do, in my opinion. They don't take away as much of the shine, and you end up with brighter, richer colors. Plus, they're just fun to work with. They're absolutely easy mode for washes. And if you are very skilled and lucky, like I am, you can do most of this work just off camera so that no one can see it, and you have very little usable footage. Yeah. Sorry about that, folks. In the end, this is what I was left with once the oil wash was dry. To add a little more depth and interest still, I'm going to take Agrax Earthshade and apply it carefully into the deepest shadows. Okay, so why Agrax after I just said that oil washes are better over metallics? Well, in this case, I actually wanted to dull down the shine on the metals, to make the very deepest shadows look so recessed that light isn't reflecting off of them as much. I keep this to the very deepest recesses on the model and to the underside of his belly and tail, where light isn't going to hit. And finally, it's time to lighten things up and bring in our last bright highlight on the scales. Now I'm using Pro Acryl's light bronze and just dry brushing it everywhere that light would hit. I put less emphasis with this color on the wing folds and on the claws and forelimbs because I want to leave those more green. but the head and main body of the bronze dragon get a heavy dry brush of this brighter, more yellow bronze. Because this layer isn't getting a wash, it also means our highlight color is the shiniest layer of paint on the metallic dragon, which is perfect. And then it's time for details. I block in the eyes of the great beast with white, and then go over them with a fluorescent green to bring a little life back to them. The teeth get picked out in white too, but they get a thin coat of skeleton horde contrast paint for easy aging. And I picked out his tongue in a light gray blue, Night Haunt Gloom, so that it would stand out without being a bright pink that would throw off the entire color scheme. When turning a toy into a D&D model, it really is those last few touches that bring it together. For me, it's the eyes. I'm never 100% convinced it's going to turn out well until I get the eyes painted. Leaving the bronze dragon aside for now, I want to move on to the statue. Not every toy sculpt is good enough to be an actual creature, but most are at least good enough to be statues. And you know what? There's no wrong color or color scheme for a statue. I'm going to go with a cool gray and call it a stone statue because I like the idea of a giant stone dragon. It could be in front of an adventurer's tavern of the same name, the Stone Dragon, or maybe it's in a port, looking out toward the ocean, honoring a moment in the city's past when, during a vicious attack by pirates, they were saved at the very last moment by a dragon attack that obliterated the pirate fleet. It would be equally at home inside of a magic shop, or just as likely as a random piece of scattered terrain in Old Felstadt or Mordheim. This particular dragon is benefiting from the most basic gray paint job in the world, a cool blue-gray base coat, and then 2 successive dry brushes of lighter gray highlights, one in light gray and then one that's in off-white. I also made up a really basic platform for the statue out of foam. This is exactly what it looks like. Just 2 rectangles of foam textured with tinfoil and stuck on top of each other. Sometimes simple works. And it's really the dragon itself that's going to be getting all of the attention anyway, right? Because there are no metallics on this piece, it's also a good time to use a homemade black wash instead of an oil wash. That will tamp everything down and bring it together, as well as giving us darker, nicer shadows. And once that's dry, that's pretty much it for the statue. So that about wraps it up. And honestly, I couldn't be happier with it for a 50-cent project. I really like how the bronze dragon turned out, and I didn't have one of those in my collection before. I really think that the different bronze colors, the greens and the browns together, do a lot to disguise how kind of flat and basic the sculpt is. And of course, you can't go wrong with more scattered terrain and another statue. If you're playing war games or skirmish games like Frostgrave or Mordheim, you can always use more scatter. As for the last dragon, I really don't have a lot of inspiration for him. With that kind of short, melted looking snout and those lidless eyes, I was thinking maybe an undead dragon. But if you have thoughts on that or you want to see me try that, or if you have your own ideas about what he might look good painted as, let me know in the comments. Alright, other than that, thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. If you've enjoyed the video, there is a link below to buymeacoffee.com where you can throw me a couple dollars to help the channel keep rolling forward. I have 2, maybe 3 more videos coming this month, and I hope you'll join me to watch those too. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.